Okay, I'm going to pick this Master 410 lockout takeout lock. And I'm also, so this lock does not have a removable core. So I'm also, I've got this Kwikset lock. It's just a standard Kwikset key and knob cylinder. I'm also going to rekey that real quick. This is actually my second time doing this because even though I do have a successful video recording me picking this lock, I actually discovered something after making the video. For some reason, I was under the impression that this only had 5 pins. Turns out it has 6, and the reason that I was successfully picking it before is that pin number 6 is so deep that really all I had to do to unlock this was essentially accidentally brush against that pin, which I was doing sometimes but not always. And now that I realized that I actually have 6 pins to pick, it's far quicker and easier to pick. So let's try and pick this real quick. That was actually 6 right there. That was 5. Got a nice deep false set. 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to double check. Sometimes pins drop as I do those. 6 is still feeling good. 5 is still feeling good. Now for the hard one, which is number 4. I think number 4 on this one is serrated. I'm not sure if it is serrated. It's pretty lightly serrated. There we go. And we're open. Open. And I just realized I did not show you that this is fully functioning before I started, but I'll go ahead and just relock it here. So nothing special about this one. Here's the key for it. Unlock, opens up, relock. There we go. So there, that was like a minute or 2 to pick. Much better than my first video, which was closer to 8 minutes. So then we've got this lock. This is actually like the 3rd or 4th time rekeying this, 3rd time rekeying it on video. The very first time, I actually spent more time cleaning the lock than I did pulling it apart and putting it back together again, because that lock I picked up at a thrift store, and I didn't have a key, and when I very first picked it, I had a very hard time picking this. Not because it's difficult to pick, it's very just standard Kwikset KW1 keyway, but whoever owned it previously had sprayed just completely the wrong thing in here. It almost felt like they were using Loctite in it. It wasn't actually Loctite. Whatever it was clear, but it was very sticky, very gummy. When I did pick it, I actually had to use a screwdriver to fully turn the core. So the first video that I did was me basically pulling it apart, cleaning it, putting it back together again. I did do a second video, but I figured, seeing as I was doing a video to pick that lockout tagout, I'll go ahead and just redo this one as well. This one does have, I did key it at this point, but these keys are really not cut well. They're actually supposed to be the same, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the video. It's just really poorly cut, and they don't really properly line up. So believe it or not, only one of these two keys works in here, and even then I have to pull it out a little bit. So it's this key that works in there, but I do have to pull it out a little bit to make it work. So let's go ahead, we'll just turn it. Pull off our E-clip. These pins came out of this key and pin actually, and pins came out of a rekey it yourself kit. It was very, very inexpensive, and part of the problem that I ran into is not all the correct pins were even in the kit. So I ended up taking one pin and modifying it in chamber 1 there. So if you see it's a little shiny around chamber 1, it's because I basically put the key in there and then filed down that pin until it was flush, and it filed slightly at the core, but not enough to affect it. So here we've got pin 1, pin 2, pin 3, pin 4, and pin 5. And then we've got our keyway here, or our Bible, not the keyway. Let's pull these out. I did, just to make this lock a little more interesting to myself, I put a spool and a serrated in there. Just for S&Gs. There's 1. There's 2. Here's a spool in 2. I'm actually gonna move it to 4 because I originally intended to put it in 4 and accidentally put it in 2. Because I wanted to put a serrated in 2, mostly because I really don't have much experience with serrated pins, and I wanted a lock to practice with that would give me a little more practice with serrated pins. I kind of want to know exactly where it's at, mostly just so I can figure out what I'm even feeling for. Here's the serrated. There's not much for serrations on it. It's only just a very small portion of it that's serrated, but that's okay. Get the spring out of there. And file kind of just went nuts and popped out there. That's all right. Oh, and another part of the reason for doing this is when I first filmed this, I had the video vertical, like in portrait mode, and as we've all made abundantly clear, vertical is bad. So I'm redoing this partially just so I can get it as horizontal. I'm going to just turn on some additional lighting real quick. I'll be back. Just because it can get a little bit hard to see what's going on. Focus. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to stick the first spring in without the core follower just so I can see what I'm doing. I'm kind of in my basement, so lighting down here isn't the best. Oh, I'm actually going backwards again. I'll switch those around. Okay. So that's 5. Let's do 4. We're going to put that spool in 4. Really got to get myself a little bit of a better tripod here. Right now I've just got essentially a hobby vise that I've got my phone clamped into, and it's sitting on top of essentially a little pedestal that I built. I just about had that pin in and then bumped it and it went flying. So let's try that again. Come on. There we go. Had my follower a little bit too far advanced. There we go. So that was 4. Stick 3 in there. It's our spring. It's our pin. Get in your hole. All right. 2. And let's put the serrations. While I did clean out the keyway quite a bit, or not the keyway, the cylinder quite a bit, it's still not perfect. So the follower gets a little sticky as we get here towards the end, but it doesn't really affect performance outside of really the key follower. The keyway turns, or not the keyway, the core turns fine in the lock. So I'm not really going to bother cleaning it out any more than I already have. So there we go. We've got all the pins back in the Bible. Here's our lock. Or the core, I should say. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and stick our key back in. I think this is the side that we want. I'll just kind of show you. Because of the way that the key is cut, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. But if I put it all the way in, you'll actually see that 5 and 3 are just slightly proud, and actually 1 is slightly sunken. So the reason that you need to pull the key out just a little bit is when you pull it out, 1 and 3 fall into where they're supposed to be, and 5 and 3 fall in where they're supposed to be. They're no longer proud, and 1 pops up into the correct position. So let's go ahead and stick her back in. There we go. Go ahead, take out the key. Put our E-clip back on. Make sure we got the right key. That's this one. There we go. Still turning like it should. There we go. All right, so there you go. Got my lockout takeout picked. Got my cylinder gutted, put back together, and I think we're all good.